I got a little confession to make because I have been a dirty little piggy sniffing for trauma truffles lately because I was absorbed by the Tawny trilogy by Robin Hobb throughout the end of October and the beginning of November. Also, I am passing that trauma down because our Bindery community, we've got a bunch of new people starting their Robin Hobb journey since we've set up the Robin Hobb Goblin Buddy Read channel in the Discord server, and I recently finished book 3 in the Tawny trilogy, Fool's Fate. So with that in mind, I figured I would give a quick guide to the realm of the Elderlings. We'll cover the reading order, explain what to expect with Robin Hobb's writing style. I'll unpack some of the main criticisms, and I'll rank the books that I've read in that world. And also, shout out to the subscribers on Bindery who are watching this before it's released to the public at large. I love y'all. I will see y'all in the disco. All right, we're going to jump right in, and instead of mouth barfing a bunch of words, here's a graphic that explains the reading order of the realm of the Elderlings. Now, I've heard tell of people that have started with the live ship traders so they could make the Farseer to Tawny Man connection since they're in the same location with the same set of characters. However, I don't think Ship of Magic holds a candle to Assassin's Apprentice in terms of being your first Robin Hobb experience for multiple reasons. Farseer and Live Ship are close to the same timeline, but Live Ship does take place like after. There's a bit of overlap, but it's kind of after. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I wouldn't do it because you're going to have better context and make better connections with the standard order here on the graphic. So let's talk about next what to expect in this world. So the realm of the Elderlings isn't just an epic fantasy universe. It is a grimdark, adjacent, emotional demolition project with political intrigue, found family, animal bonds, ancient magic, and beautiful, devastating character arcs and relationships. It is set across multiple interconnected series that span generations and continents. Farseer, so we're talking about Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, Assassin's Quest. These all follow a boy named Fitz. With a gift for magic, he is a royal bastard, and he is pulled into the arena of court intrigue and trained as an assassin to serve the crown. Even though Fitz can be a bit of a dum-dum at times, it's my favorite coming-of-age fantasy story. We'll get into Fitz later on. Now, the next series, that would be Live Ship Traders, Ship of Magic, Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny. It is a pirate adventure set in the port of Bingtown. The premise is honestly insane, because it involves massive ships who have magical human mastheads that talk. It is also an exploration, more seriously, of generational legacy and family expectations. It's a crazy premise, I know, but just hang in there. Hobb really ramps up the trauma porn in this one, and once the story really gets going, it bangs. And as a side note, we switch from the first-person POV from Farseer to a third-person limited POV. We have multiple perspectives in this one. So just a note on that. The Tawny trilogy is the third trilogy. So Fool's Errand, Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate is the order. This is a return to the characters from Farseer, like I mentioned, which is exceptionally cozy to start. Essentially, Hobb decided that she wasn't done torturing some of these main characters. I won't go too far into this because I don't want to mistakenly spoil Farseer, but this trilogy is beloved by the fan base and is known for being just emotionally devastating. Now, I haven't read the final 2 series, so I'm going to just leave it at that in terms of like explaining what these are. So next, let's talk about the writing style. What can you expect from the writing style when you encounter Robin Hobb and get into her work? Well, I'll tell you, Robin Hobb does not rush. Everything is built patiently, deliberately, and ruthlessly. You'll spend sometimes entire pages looking around a new room, but it's not filler. Everything has a purpose. Everything fits together within the larger world. Her prose is earthy with a whimsical diction that feels like cozy old school fantasy without being too poetic or self-indulgent. I think a good point of reference here is somebody like Catherine Addison. So if you've read The Goblin Emperor or one of her other books, I think there's a very similar vibe to the style there. Now, the fictional world that Hobb builds is layered with hundreds of years of history and lore, and by the end of it, you'll be familiar with all the customs, cultures, rituals, superstitions, politics, and the backstory of it all. Now, the politics, wars, magic, all that, they help shape the plot, but it's the internal conflict that drives the external events. It's a character-driven work where it's about the decisions that major players make and what led them to make those choices and how they're shaped by those events after. It's more about the quiet moments and emotional consequences that hit you like a truck. And this should tell you that if you liked fast-paced, plot-driven books, these may not be for you. And there are two major complaints that I see with these books. And one of them is that it's boring. And look, I get it. If you're unable to get immersed in the world and you don't care about the characters, I can see how some of the pacing issues and lack of explosive moments early on would turn you off. And look, I hate the question, like, when does it get good? Because I am not you. I know I was hooked from jump. And while I could say, just give it to the end of Assassin's Apprentice to see if the ending hooks you, if you're not vibing with it, you're not vibing with it. So it's going to be up to you if you continue. And one of the complaints I hear with Farseer is that some people just can't stand Fitz because he makes dumb decisions and he's just a frustrating character. And I get that. I mean, there was a point in Farseer that made me stop, go back, reread, because he couldn't possibly be that unaware in a certain moment. And look, I call Fitz a dum-dum all the time, but he is our dum-dum. And I love him despite, and maybe even for, his flaws. I really think that reducing him to this stupid person that makes horrible choices is a case of fundamental attribution error, which is when we believe somebody's behavior comes from who they are, right? Their intelligence, their personality, rather than their situation and the constraints put on them by other factors. So when someone says that, like, Fitz is dumb, I would counter that with, Fitz is young. He is a teenager for most of this. He's traumatized. He's gaslit and manipulated at every turn by everyone at court. He's constantly operating with incomplete information in a dangerous political system. His strings are being pulled by savvy operators much older than him. He has very little real support system. You factor all that in, and my takeaway is that Fitz's impulsivity is pretty normal for a teen, especially one that is exhibiting textbook trauma responses like shutting down, lashing out, mistrusting everything, who constantly lacks critical information, is surrounded by a hostile system of secrecy and manipulation. And if you're able to take all that in mind and relate to it as you're getting into his head, it is such a deep and rewarding experience that heightens every scene and interaction. And he does not walk between the raindrops with the poor choices. I mean, as you get through the series, people are constantly like taking him to task and calling him out. And that could be helpful in some cases. You wish he would just take the good advice and keep it moving. But it's also showing that he's being pulled from all these different sides. And what may seem like a good choice has untold ramifications that could upset the other people in his life. And we agonize over all of those choices with Fitz. And I don't know. I just find it super compelling because too many protagonists just have these light bulb moments that neatly tie things up and somehow serve every master and make everybody happy. So many of them are also OP Mary Sue's as well. And that's just not real life. And that's not my experience anyway. So anyway, that is my defense of Fitz. I don't blame you if you can't get past his flaws, but if that's what makes it bad for you, that's what makes it good for me. Let's do some rankings, all right? So for ranking these, first, I'm going to do the individual books, and then I will sort the trilogies with a composite rating. My least favorite in this world is still 4 stars. We've got Ship of Magic, Book 1 in the Live Ship Traders coming in at number 9. There is a lot of political depth to absorb, and like there's also a lot about boats. Plus we have more POVs and all the web of connections going on there, and it's all done very well. And it's going to sound weird after talking about how much I like Hobb's slow pace, but this is probably her most consistently slow. It's very harsh to the characters as well. And while all of this does set up the world and eventually pays off, it was just a while before you really find your sea legs. Get it? Sea legs. Number 8 is Assassin's Quest, Book 3 in Farseer, which I gave 4.25 stars. The first and second acts of this book did feel a little bloated, and the third act had me a bit miffed with certain characters and the motivations behind their actions, but it's still a doggone good and satisfying conclusion on the whole. So despite its flaws, it still hits a lot of the right notes and has the emotional payoff that you're looking for, I think. Numbers 5 through 7 are tough because I gave all of them 4.5 stars. Number 7 is Golden Fool, Book 2 in Tawny Man. Really nothing wrong with this. I never felt not invested. It's just very much a bridge book that doesn't have the same impact as the books that bracket it, that's all. Number 6 is Assassin's Apprentice, Book 1 of Farseer. This is the white van with the promise of candy. It is much shorter than the other books. It's your introduction to Fitz as you start to grow up with him. It's got wonderful world building as we learn more about Buck Keep. The only knock I have is that I'd say the stakes feel a bit muted at first, but I love the way this ended, and this got me hooked. Number 5 is Ship of Destiny, Book 3 in Live Ship Traders. It's an excellent conclusion that feels earned. You really feel like you went through everything with these characters and are rewarded with an excellent final act. Everything from 1 through 4 is also tough because they were all 5 stars to me, but I feel pretty good with how I have these stacked. At number 4, Mad Ship, Book 2 of Live Ship Traders. This is where Hobb really starts to reveal everything that she was setting up in Book 1. The character arcs are brilliant. I had one character that I loathed in the beginning, and I was subtly but consistently turned around on her that she became like one of my favorites, and hats off to Hobb for that, because there was no big like save the cat moment or anything cheap. It was just elite character work chipping away at my resolve, and yeah, it absolutely stuck the landing at the end and sets up Ship of Destiny perfect. Number 3 is Royal Assassin, Book 2 of Farseer, which is where we really see the stakes get raised. The court intrigue is banging, the character relationships are compelling, the emotional crescendos are pitch perfect. This is really what sold me on Hobb early on, because it's a masterstroke. For number 2, there is nothing like a reader's version of Coming Home that I got with like that feeling with Fool's Errand, Book 1 of Tawny Man. I mentioned this in my October wrap video, but the first 100 pages of this was like being flooded with memories, and it never felt info dumpy or bloated with exposition as Hobb reintroduces the characters from Farseer. And again, you're gonna feel all of the feelings in this one. And at number 1, maybe it's recency bias, I don't care, but my number 1 book in the realm of the Elderlings so far is Fool's Fate, the final book in Tawny Man. Edge of my seat the entire time. It's the emotional and thematic peak. It's the Queen of Mean at her best. It's so doggone powerful. This had me in a chokehold the entire time, could not put it down. And again, some of the best character arcs in the business, and at times done with such subtlety and skill. Fool's Fate is an all-timer fantasy series entry for me, even outside of this world, just in general. This is so good. As far as ranking the trilogy goes, the math spells out what my heart feels. So I'm going to go with what they both say. It is Tawny Man on top with a bonkers composite rating of 4.83. Then we've got Farseer coming in second with a 4.58, and Live Ship Traders is a close third at 4.5 even. Now, if you've read all these, I'd love to know your individual book rankings and how you'd rank the trilogies, or at least maybe like your favorite book and trilogy. So throw that in the comments. I'm going to take a breather before I get into the rest of the realm of the Elderlings, probably for a few months. I'm satiated for now. I'm so satisfied with how Tawny Man hit, and I want to let that all soak in for a while before I jump back into the world. And again, we have a buddy read channel set up for the realm of the Elderlings in the Discord server. So you subscribe on Bindery, link your Discord under account settings on Bindery, and join us for that, because it's been very active, and I love seeing everybody just like go through what I went through and have different thoughts and angles to discuss. I hope to see you there if I've sold you on starting your Robin Hobgoblin journey. And I appreciate you hanging out with me for this whole thing and letting me yap about some Robin Hobb, because I love her writing. I'm obsessed with her stuff. And it's been just awesome to work through just some of the best fantasy that I've read. Anyway, that's it for today. I appreciate y'all. See you on the next one.